Hey YouTube, this is Guy, and I'm back again with another watch review. If you saw my previous watch review, which was on the Seiko 5 SNK 809, you remember that I said sometime in the near future I was looking to do a review on a very similar, but of course much more expensive watch, and that was the Hamilton Khaki Field. Well, here it is in all of its glory, and I'm ready to do that review. So yeah, today what we're looking at is this beautiful watch. It is the Hamilton Khaki Field Automatic 38mm, and it is one of 6 models in that product line. The differences between them are going to be variations of strap and dial color, and you can get it in leather straps or a metal bracelet. Before we get into the actual watch review itself, I wanted to talk about the Hamilton company history because I think that's kind of interesting. I guess it was a little while ago now, maybe a week. It was probably more like 2 weeks ago. I requested this product catalog from Hamilton. And if you take a look at it, there is all of this product information, company history. There's this cool timeline that illustrates when they, made all of their different innovations in watchmaking. Along with that, there is information about their movements or calibers, the new movements, which we'll get into and talk about quite a bit here, and then each individual product line with, fantastic photography and the product information about all of those different products. So, what can we say about the history of Hamilton? Well, to start out with, it was founded in the year of 1892 in the United States, the town of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They started out with pocket watches, predominantly meant to be used in the railroad industry to be accurate timekeeping, timepieces. Later, they became the supplier of the U.S. Armed Forces, and around 1974, they became a member of the Swatch Group, which is, to this day, they're one of many brands that are under that Swatch umbrella. 2003, they moved their headquarters to Switzerland, and since then, all of their watches have had the Swiss-made branding label, which we'll see on this watch here in a little bit. A little, basic information about this particular watch. It is product reference number or product number H-704-55733. And that just designates that it's the 38mm automatic Khaki Field with the black leather strap. It's got a 38mm case, 20mm lugs, which are the dimensions here where the strap connects to the body of the case. That's 20mm. It does have a Sapphire Crystal, so the glass covering the dial of the watch is a Sapphire Crystal, and it has no anti-reflective coating to speak of. So you can see there, it is very reflective. That's sort of a downside, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. It does have water resistance of 100 meters or about 330 feet. The rear of the case does have a exhibition or display window, so you can see that movement in there, just proudly and prominently. The movement itself is a 25 joule H-10 automatic movement. It does feature hand winding and hacking. Also, it has approximately an 80-hour power reserve, and I can confirm that it is at least 80 hours. Mine maybe went a little bit longer than 80 hours. I didn't clock it like I probably should have. One of my testing methodologies when I get a watch is to get it wound up as close to full as I think it is, and then I just let it sit in my watch case, and I monitor how it keeps time, and I monitor how long it lasts. It's just sitting static in a watch case, dial up, no environmental changes, no temperature changes. I just want to see how, under those circumstances, how does it perform? And the reason is because once you wear a watch, you can't return it. So, I wanted to at least perform okay in that circumstance before I put it on my wrist and commit to saying, okay, this watch is something I want to keep. So, that said, this watch also features the black leather strap, like I had mentioned. That's the strap that I liked, so I went with that. I think it's really nice. The brown also looks cool, based on the pictures anyway. I've never seen it in person. And this one has a black dial, as opposed to, I think it might come in a silver or a white, something like that. So that's your basic specifications about the watch itself. Let's specifically get started with talking about the movement in this watch. And this movement is the H-10 movement, which is new for Hamilton. I don't know how new, to be honest with you. There's not a lot of information on it. But what you might be wondering is, hey, I went on the Hamilton website and it says that that watch is supposed to come with the ETA, or the ETA 2824-2. Yeah, you'd be right. That's what I thought as well. I went on the website when I was shopping for watches, trying to figure out, what watch do I want to get. This was the one I decided on. I expected to get that movement in the watch. So when it came in the mail, I was a little confused. I was like, what is this? This doesn't look quite right. First of all, it's not labeled anywhere what it is. It doesn't say H-10. On the old version of this watch, on the ring around the movement window where it says Swiss made, and it says water resistant, 10 bar. It would also say Sapphire Crystal, kind of up here, I think. And then over here, it might say something like ETA 2824-2 or caliber 2824-2. I forget, but in this region, in these empty spaces, that's not there. And clearly, you can tell just by looking at it, if you've seen pictures of the ETA 2824-2, that this is not that. So I did a little bit of research. And what I found out was that they have started switching over their watches to their new H series movements. This one's H-10. They also have an H-30, 40, an H-10S. I believe the chronograph movements are 21 and 31. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember exactly. But the point is, they're not using just the simple ETA movements anymore. They're modifications of those. Well, how did I find that out? On the website watchbase.com, you can find some specs on the H-10 movement. And what it says there is that it is based off of the Powermatic 80, which is an ETA CO 7.111. And then if you look at that specific movement on Watchbase, it says that it's a derivative of the 2824-2. So effectively what we have here is an 80-hour power reserve derivative of the 2824-2, I guess. Now, what did they do to get the 80-hour power reserve? Apparently, they changed some of the mechanics, including reducing the beats per hour down from 28,000 to 21,600. And how that will be most noticeable is if you look at the second hand on these watches, you'll see it sweeps, but it's not as smooth sweeping as it would have been if it were 28,000 beats per hour. For me, that's not a big deal. I think it looks fine the way it is. And so long as it's accurate, I suppose I would prefer the 80-hour power reserve to the slightly smoother sweeping second hand. But that's me. Your opinion might be different. To each their own. I don't know if I said it already, but this movement is a 25 joule automatic movement. It does have hand winding and hacking. You can just charge it or get it wound by wearing it on your wrist, and that metal rotor with the skeletonized H, which is one of the ways you can identify it as an H-10, that rotor spins around while you're wearing it, and that winds it. But you can also grab the crown, and you can spin it, and you can wind it that way as well. I have read online that people suggest that hand winding it by the crown isn't the best idea for regular winding, because the mechanism is a little fragile and it's been known to break. If you just want to give it 10 or 20 winds once in a while to get it started, if it died, that's probably fine. At least that's what people suggest. I'm no expert, but that's what I've read. Again, it does have hacking, which means when you pull the crown out to set the time, as you can see there, the second hand stops. That's a nice feature. So now you can adjust the time to whatever you want it to be. If you're trying to sync it up to, a specific clock or something, you wait for the times to sync up and push it back in, and the second hand starts running again. So that's nice. Some of the lesser expensive watches in the Seiko line, like the SNK 809 that I reviewed before, don't offer that feature. If you pull the crown out to the first position, you will be able to change the date complication. This doesn't have a day complication. I sort of wish that it did in some regards, but I suppose if it did have a day, it would probably clutter the dial too much. So this one only features a date, and by pulling the crown out to the first position, you can set the date very easily. As far as, what else we can talk about for the movement, again, this is sort of hearsay. It's user and consumer reported on the internet, but supposedly this H-10 movement, as opposed to the ETA 2824-2, has a couple, maybe two, I think, plastic parts in it, which, plastic or polymer, everything's made out of plastic these days, so I don't know if that's a big deal or not. But also, the way that it was built or changed makes it more difficult to regulate. So if it were horribly inaccurate for some reason, you couldn't just open it up and try to regulate it yourself without some special tools or know-how. And it's unlikely that a local watchmaker, unless they're experienced with this specific movement, would be able to do it either. So more likely than not, you'd have to send it to Hamilton to have it regulated if it was, wildly inaccurate for some reason. So that's a negative, of course. But it is what it is. It seems to be a good, robust, reliable movement so far in the roughly, month or so that I've had it. I will say that when I first got it, and again, I was confused. I was like, what is this movement? I sent an email to customer service, I guess Swatch Group, not technically Hamilton. And in the email, I wasn't rude or abrasive or anything, but I just said, hey, I don't understand what I got here. This is not an ETA 2824. I think maybe it's an H-10, but I don't know much about that. Your website advertises that this should come with a 2824. So if there's somebody there that I can speak to that is intimately knowledgeable about this product, could you please have them contact me? I want to know what the differences are and why I was given something different. So I asked to speak to somebody intimately knowledgeable because I didn't want just a cut and paste answer that, you get from technical support, customer service reps for most companies. I wanted a little more information. This was a fairly large expenditure for me, and I kind of felt like I didn't get what I paid for. I don't know if I got an upgrade, a downgrade, a side grade, as far as it being a different movement, and I just wasn't expecting it. Well, my response that I got back was a little disheartening. I was, again, not trying to be rude or abrasive or anything in my email. I don't think I was, but all I got was an obvious cut and paste response. And then at the end of the email, the person said, if that explanation, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly, but it was something to the effect of, if that explanation is not adequate for you, perhaps you should return this watch to the authorized dealer you bought it from. I thought that was, a little negative, ridiculous. I'm not sure how to even describe it. I wasn't expecting that. So anyway, the information that they did cut and paste and give to me, I'll tell you what they said. And let me pull it up here real quick. It's on a website. It's called Hamilton University or something to that effect. They just copied and pasted the information right off of it. And basically what it says is the H-10, H-30, H-40, a trio of new Hamilton movements developed with ETA, boast a typical power reserve of 80 hours. The following elements have been modified. The entire kinematic chain has been refined from the barrel to the encasement. The encasement regulator has been suppressed, facilitating optimal reliability and precision. The mainspring has been improved to increase a typical power reserve of 80 hours, and the monoblock rotor is distinctively skeletonized with an H shape and aviation-inspired cutouts, a signature of individualization. And then there's a few very basic but not very informative technical specs about measurements and sizes and stuff. They don't publish what the accuracy is that you should expect. They don't give you much information at all, honestly. But, here's my question. The very first line says the following elements have been modified. Modified from what? From what? They don't say. I assume they mean modified from the previous movement, the 2824. But again, there's a lot of incomplete information. They just don't want to inform the consumer of what they're getting, I guess. I'm not sure. I was a little disappointed, though, to say the least, in the regard of I didn't know what it was that I got in the mail. If I went out and bought a brand new Corvette, I would expect it to have an LT1 engine that produces 440 horsepower. And if I didn't get that, I would be disappointed. Maybe if it was an upgrade, I'd eventually be, happy, like, oh, they upgraded me and I didn't know. But I wouldn't want to go through the hassle of trying to find out if it was an upgrade. And that's what I feel like I'm having to do here with this watch is, play, what's his, I forget his name, Inspector Sherlock Holmes. I'm having to play Sherlock Holmes here and do all kinds of investigations to figure out if what I got is actually at least as good, if not better than what I was expecting. So that's all I got to say about the movement, I guess, which is probably too much considering I don't really know that much. I'm basically just telling you what I don't know. As far as the accuracy of the watch, like I said, I couldn't find out what the advertised accuracy of the H-10 movement is supposed to be, but I believe the ETA 2824-2 accuracy is supposed to be plus or minus 20 seconds per day. We'll assume that this is in that same ballpark, I guess. This watch in particular, this example, is much more accurate than that, though. It's running for me at probably around minus 5 to 6 seconds per day. Going slow is a little bit of a bummer. I'd prefer it to go fast if, it were up to me, but it's not. So still, 5 to 6 seconds per day is not bad. As far as the quality and the design, I got some things that I'd like to say about that. I like the case 38mm size with the 20mm lugs, and if you saw my SNK review, I mentioned in that one that I wasn't super crazy about the 37mm design, but more importantly, the 18mm lugs. That watch just felt a little too small and almost feminine in its sizing. This watch isn't very much bigger, but it feels and looks a world of difference better as far as having a more manly, masculine look to it. And it's because of that couple of millimeters in case size, 1 millimeter in case size and 2 millimeters in the lug dimensions. If I'm being honest, I think that's the big difference. As far as the rest of it, it's got this beautiful polished area around the bezel, and it's got some more satiny brushed areas on the case. The overall look of it is excellent. I love it. The crown is I don't know, I'm getting so much glare here, you might not be able to see it too well, but it's got the Hamilton H signature on it. So that's cool. The dial itself, of course, like I'd mentioned, has only a date complication. And the layout of the dial, though, is what I love. It's got this inky black color, and you can kind of see in there's like multiple layers. There's this ring with your large hour Arabics, and then like this inner ring. You almost got to see it in person to really get it. But I think that's a really cool feature. It's got some dimension. The outer ring with your second indicators with all these little hash marks for the milliseconds. I like that a lot. I think that's cool. It's kind of busy, but for me, I don't know, I think it just looks right. Down at the very bottom here, I had mentioned earlier, it says Swiss made, because these are Swiss watches. After Hamilton moved to Switzerland, they now bear that label. So they're down at the bottom, very hard to read. It says Swiss made. So that's cool. You have the Hamilton branding, Hamilton Khaki automatic. It's not obtrusive. It doesn't detract from the design of the dial. So I have no problems with that at all. I think that looks great. And then, of course, it's the strap. And, you have, like I said, 6 different options in models. This strap is the one that I thought I would like, black leather with white stitching. It's an excellent strap. It's high quality leather. I really like it. It was a little stiff out of the box, but, if you know anything about leather belts, leather shoes, whatever, a baseball mitt, it has to break in. So that's to be expected. You can work it yourself manually, just kind of bending it a little bit and break it in, or just wear it and wait for it to break in. It will eventually. So I love that. The numbers and the hands and everything has a lume, glows in the dark if it's sufficiently charged from the sunlight or an artificial light source. That's not great, I'm going to be honest. It doesn't really glow bright enough or long enough. So, you know, that is what it is. Another negative is the crown is a little big. So if you're wearing it on your left hand, it's going to dig into the top of your hand or, you know, the back of your wrist if you like wearing it up closer to your hand, which I do. If you wear it back on your arm a little bit more, that's going to be a non-issue. But for me, it can, you know, kind of dig in on the back of your wrist a little bit. That's really about the only negatives, honestly. Not much else to say other than I love it. I think it's a great watch. It's beautiful. It you know, it seems to be rugged and durable. I don't put it through hard use or abuse, but it keeps good time. You know, I have no complaints. Other than the watch itself, I will give you a quick look at the box and the presentation of, you know, how it came. You have this nice, big, durable box. Let's move this out of the way. Open the outer box. It also has a white slipcase, which I have set aside somewhere. So, you know, you would take the white slipcase off. Now, when you open up this, you have a little cubby underneath here where I keep my receipt and the product manual. I don't bother pulling that out. You've seen one product manual. You've seen them all. And then the watch itself is in this very durable inner box, sitting on its pillow. And there's not much in there, really. Your tag. This is a $575 manufacturer suggested retail price. I will tell you a couple of things about the price. Number one, you can get it from gray market dealers for much less than that. $575 is a lot. You can get it gray market for probably $375, I'm thinking, maybe just slightly under $400. I bought mine from an authorized dealer. I'm not getting anything to promote them. They didn't give this to me. I paid for it. But I will plug them because the transaction was a pleasure dealing with them. It was Topper Fine Jewelers. They're out of California somewhere. I got referred to them through an internet forum as being an authorized dealer for Hamilton. So I went ahead and called them. Actually, I emailed them. And I said, this is what I'm looking for. And they called me back and said it's not in stock, but we'll go ahead and order it for you if you want. And the process was painless and they were very helpful. I had my watch in, I don't know, inside of 2 weeks, I think. So I can't recommend them enough. Topper Fine Jewelers was great, and the sales associate that I spoke with there, her name was Cho Lee. So if you're looking for Hamilton watches, I highly recommend them. And again, I'm not being offered anything to endorse them. I just wanted to share a good experience that I had. So yeah, that's basically it. That's all I really have to say about the Hamilton watch. I will do a comparison review sometime here in the near future between this watch and the Seiko SNK 809 because they are visually similar watches. I initially got the Seiko because this is the watch I wanted, and I didn't think I wanted to spend this kind of money. And I enjoyed the Seiko. I like it. I think it's a quality watch in its own right. But, you know, I was still like, oh, I want this Hamilton. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. But, you know, if we're going to say, like, who's probably going to be the winner in the comparison video, I think it's going to be this one. I'm not going to lie to you now. But it'll be cool to see the differences. I think you'll enjoy it. So do me a favor, go ahead and like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, and thanks for tuning in. I'll see you here in maybe a week or so with that comparison video. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great one.